What we're looking at today, we're going to be discussing some of the most basic concepts that come into human anatomy and physiology and biomechanics. Really important is we're looking at some of the effects that long-term posture can have upon your body, the balances and imbalances that occur, and how we can work to make them better. So with Tilly here, Tilly's come in and Tilly is nice and relaxed. Tilly is sitting in what is the most comfortable and most relaxed position. This turns off a lot of muscles. Basically, Tilly is hanging on her ligaments. Tilly is in posterior pelvic tilt. And Dr. Danny, you can discuss what that's going to do.
That's right. So a lot of us, or most of us, are spending more time at home, which is all part of what we have to do right now, and often the most comfortable position when we're sitting at the computer, sitting down watching Netflix, is this position here. So you can see, as Andrew said, that posterior pelvic tilt, a big arch through the lower back. It saves the body energy, and that's why we naturally just go to that position. But the thing is, what happens is we have a big muscle at the front called the psoas muscle, and that is responsible for a big part of hip flexion. So they get super tight. Now often people think when they have tight hip flexors that they stretch it out, they go get dry needling on it, but that's not good. We want to keep that tight muscle nice and strong because it's helping to stabilize the hips. So what we're going to do today is really show you some exercises you can do to help strengthen the muscles that aren't playing their part in this position.
Perfect, yeah. This is the idea, isn't it?
That's right.
Better health through strength.
That's it.
Now, as Danny has mentioned here, the psoas muscle is doing a big job stabilising the pelvis in this posterior pelvic tilt. But there's also an effect upon the spine. And Tilly's sitting there, that will be her spine, and the front of the bones will be shaped like this, where she's putting her body into a position where she's into flexion. Of course, what that does is that moves disc material up the back, and it creates sometimes the opportunity for the disc bulge to occur. If a person drops something, he has to bend over further. So we're going to show you what we do and how it affects this position. So what we're going to do is, Danny, I'm going to get you, I'll take the model for you there, and you can have a look at Tilly's hip quadrant test.
That's right, so we'll just take Tilly through a little test here. So I'll get you to lie down on your back, please. And then we're just going to find the point of discomfort. So you just let me know when it starts to feel a little bit uncomfortable through the front of the hip. So I'll just gently take the hip up. Just there. Okay, so we'll take note of this position here. So I'll slowly bring you down. Okay, and you can sit back up.
So there's what we're looking at there is the effect of what it's been like on sitting posture for Tilly's range in hip flexion at the moment. We're also going to have a look at Tilly's lumbar extension range. So Tilly, I'm going to get you to stand up and put your hands on your hips and just bend backwards once. And let's see how your range looks after sitting down for a period of time. A bit stiff there, huh? Okay, Tilly moves very well for a, say, 70-year-old right now. There's a fair chance she isn't quite 70. So we're going to look at now some intervention, a couple of exercises, and we're going to retest the hip and the back and show you what happens. Some very simple things we can do.
And now we'll be taking Tilly through the first exercise, which is the good old lock clam. So this exercise is brilliant for getting the glutes firing in external rotation, so rotating the knee outwards. So I'll get you to start by lying on your side with your bottom leg straight. That is the key difference to this exercise. That bottom leg is to stay straight. We then hook the top leg just behind the ankle of the straight leg. Perfect position here, so really making sure that that hip is rolled forward towards the ground and we're using our hand to balance out in front there. So what I'll get you to do, Tilly, is 15 reps per side, so just slowly and gently lifting that knee up towards the ceiling, just to there and down. Now often we find that when people are training glutes, they overcompensate and really try and swing the leg, but that also brings all the muscles up here into it, and that's not ideal. We want to keep it purely isolated to the glutes there. Really good. So today we'll be doing 15 reps per side, but ideally it's recommended to do about 25 reps per side for those at home as well. How's this feeling, Tilly? Good. So it's really important just to be mindful. So the more that you do this, often the hips will shift backwards. So just try and catch yourself out and reposition yourself if needed. Great, let's swap sides there. So turning onto the other side. And then we will do 15 reps again. So just hooking that leg there. Good, and 15 reps here. So this is an effective long-term approach to taking some of the pressure off the hip flexors as well. So rather than attacking what is strong, we attack what's weak, and in most cases, it's the glutes for people here. So this is your number one tool, way ahead of stretching and dry needling of the hip flexors. And just take note of any differences from left to right side. How's this side feeling, Tilly? Good. Good, we got 5 more reps here. Really holding that tension at the top and guiding it on the way down. 2, 3 to go. And last one. Good. So now we'll retest that original hip test that we did at the start. So I'll get you to lie on your back, please. Thank you. And straightening your legs. And now just let me know where you feel the discomfort. So keeping your leg nice and heavy. So originally it was about here. A little bit of restriction there. So you can tell it's an instant improvement. Fantastic.
You did see how Tilly's back was bending backwards after she had been sitting for a period of time. So after doing the clams and nothing else, let's see how your hands on your hips bending backward looks, Till. So that looks good. Now what we just saw then is we did no stretching, except we did some strengthening of the glutes, and the lower back actually moves better into extension. The mechanism by this is that by becoming more stable in the pelvis, the body's actually going to be happier to move. But we still have to address the fact that disc fluid does creep backwards. So the next exercise we'll do is I'm going to keep your hands on the hips there, Tilly, and bend backwards about 10 times. And all you do is find that end of range, just leaning backwards. No problem to look backwards with the head because spines and necks do look backwards. So this is fine. This is what we used to do as hunter-gatherers. We used to look at the birds in the trees. We used to climb the mountains. We have to look up occasionally. So this in itself is actually quite a useful movement. Tilly's going hips forward, shoulders back, nice as we call it, a passive movement, just great. So there's 2 more of those, Tilly, you're going great. And we can see that the range is increasing with the repetitions, not having to force it. This is balancing out basically the disc fluid changes that happen from long-term sitting. So we know that the clams will affect the lower back, but also free up the hip. And by doing lumbar extension there, we're making sure that we're passively looking after the disc structures. So these are 2 of the most important exercises that we can possibly do as far as the basics for offsetting the long periods of sitting that we're going to be doing during the lockdown period. So we want to do our clams and we want to do our lumbar extension. Thanks there, Tilly. So Danny, it was really interesting, wasn't it? These are the things that we say so much in our clinics, and so much simple, effective work that we can do that just makes a big change on people.
That's right, and people are worrying about not having access to equipment or things like that. Those 2 were super simple, body weight, and that's it. We just need a little bit of patience and trust in the rehab process.
This is it. All we have to do is we're making sure that we're doing something to basically balance ourselves. If we spend a lot of time in forward positions, we need to do a little bit of backward positions. If our hips are tightened in one position, we tend to do glute work to go to the other position.
That's right, it's just about being aware of the postures that we're in. Often we see people come into the clinic and, you know, we give them the advice and then everyone goes back home and spends all the other 23 hours of the day back in the position that they're most comfortable in. So it's just about using that awareness now and really paying attention to the postures that you're in when you're not seeing myself or Andrew.
Yep, and with these exercises, we're usually saying we want people to do these at least twice a day. So it's about 25 of the clams,
yep.
2 sets.
That's right, and 10 of the back extension. But again, if we've changed our behaviour to be sitting down more, 3 times a day.
Absolutely, and we just need to push ourselves to a comfortable change. We don't need to join Cirque du Soleil yet unless you're in Cirque du Soleil. So it's all about comfortable exercise performance and great habits. So we'll be seeing you now and in the future with some more great videos on what you can do to set yourself up for the best opportunities that are going to come out after the lockdown period, when you'll be fresh and balanced and ready for action.
Thanks, guys.